Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kerry if you don't know me, and I love all things makeup and beauty related, especially bright, colourful, vivid makeup. Like what I'm wearing today, I am wearing the Unearthly Cosmetics... what palette is it called? So Strange. It was the Halloween release for Unearthly Cosmetics last year. It was the first time I've actually played with it, but I'm quite liking the pigment. If you want to know what I'm wearing on my face today, this look will be over on my Instagram with all the products that I've used, because today's video is going to be all about the recent palettes that I've tried that are newer in my collection and that I've been using. I've used at least twice, some 3, 4, 5 times, just so I've got a bit of a better idea, because I've done first impressions on all of these palettes and I wanted to come back and let you know my final thoughts on them and whereabouts I would rank them for this little section of the past month or so. Has it been longer than a month? I'm not sure. That was a long rambly intro. I think there's 14 palettes, I think. Okay, yeah, I think there's 14. So I'm going to be starting off with what ranks at the bottom, and then we're going to work our way up to what ranks on top. I should probably just do these monthly or every 2 months, but I just do them when a few have accumulated, so I'm not actually sure when the last time I did one of these videos was, but I do quite like these because it's nice to look back and then rank the things that have been coming in my collection and see where they place. So we're going to be starting out at the very bottom, and it's going to be the I Heart Revolution Lemon Spritz palette. I really like the look of this I Heart Revolution collection. Now, I don't pick up tons and tons from Revolution or I Heart Revolution because I think sometimes their quality is very hit and miss, but I'm a sucker for anything lemon related. This collection looked lovely. I did only pick up one of the palettes, there were 2 more. I wanted this one because I like the colour story inside, and it looks a little bit like the Limoncello palette from Colourpop. Now, of course, all of these palettes, the swatches and the first impressions and all of the details, prices, everything like that will be in the corresponding videos. So next to the palettes in the description box, I will pop the video of each one next to it in case you want to check out something a little bit more in-depth for my first impressions and all of the swatches. But I did actually quite like this palette. I don't think this is a bad one from I Heart Revolution. I don't know why I'm holding it that way up because it's actually supposed to be this way. It looks like a soda can. They are fairly affordable and I think they're around £6. I like the colour story. I don't think there's much depth in this for me, and obviously with it being I Heart Revolution, it is on the more affordable side, so not all of the shades are to my personal preference and what I like in my collection. Some of them were really nice, like this Zesty shade has got a bit of a different shift to it. It's a little bit more unusual. When I was swatching Cheers, that is a really nice formula, and I was saying it's a shame that this formula isn't in some of the other shimmers. Like, there's very basic shimmers here, Refreshing, Bubbly and Slice. These are all pretty standard, sort of satiny types of shimmers. The pigment was okay. The browns were more pigmented than, for example, the blue. Overall, it's nice for what it is. The pan sizes are super duper small, but it's cute and it had to rank somewhere, so... Then next up we've got the W7 Sherbet Pot palette, another affordable palette. And I don't just want to put affordable palettes at the bottom because they're affordable. I'm trying to base it on my enjoyment of them, the pigment, the blendability, how much I would reach for them, the colour story and theming, all of those things into consideration. But this is where this one is going to come, because when I used this, I did think 2 of the shimmers in here were a little bit more of a difficult formula to work with, which is Sherbet and Sprinkles. They didn't pick up the easiest on a brush. I do think the pastels are really nice quality pastels. I've had a lot worse pastels in a more expensive palette before. This is obviously a dupe for the Natasha Denona palette. The pastels, apart from these 3 shades, if you take away these 3, that is the dupe for the Natasha Denona. You do get a brush with this and a mirror. It is sort of, it's beautiful packaging, but it is sort of the cheap cardboard packaging. It doesn't feel the best quality, but like I say, very affordable. This is a really nice option. Like, because it's ranking here, don't mistake that as me saying that it's not a good palette. I think this is a really nice pastel palette if you were thinking of picking it up. Even the shimmers were really nice, apart from these 2 that I had a little bit more difficulty with. Even Refreshing wasn't the best on my inner corner. But the other shades, beautiful, and if you pack on with pastels rather than blend and wash them away, I think this palette works quite nicely. Then unfortunately, it is going to be one of my favourite indie brands that comes next, and it pains me to say, it's the Unearthly Cosmetics Surrender palette. This was part of their Valentine's mystery box, and I just wasn't expecting it from Unearthly. I really like them as an indie brand. They're based in the US. They have very interesting, unique colour stories, really nice special shimmers usually. So when they was bringing out a Valentine's inspired mystery box, I'm like, oh, there's going to be an eyeshadow palette and it's going to be amazing. And then for me, like even the outer packaging I'm not so keen on, and the design. And on the inside, it just feels to me like a little bit of an ABH palette, something like that, what they've released for Valentine's Day. It's not your typical Unearthly Cosmetics aesthetic, let's say. But lots of people will like this because so many people do like neutrally leaning tones and more muted tones. It has got some variety in here, you can create different looks, but that's not the only reason it's ranking where it is. I did use, the deepest shade in this is called Bustier and it is here. And I used that in my outer corner because it was the deepest, and after a few hours of wearing it I looked in the mirror and that shade had more or less disappeared, which I'm not used to that from Unearthly. So I don't really know what was going on with that. We do have some really beautiful shimmers in here, especially this one, which is either a duochrome or multi-chrome. I can definitely see different shifts in it, it's beautiful. But all in all, comparing it to the other palettes I've tried, I'm not in love with this colour story. If I had have known this was the colour story, I probably wouldn't have picked up the mystery box. I know, that is part of the mystery. But yeah, for me personally and my preferences, it had to rank a little bit lower. Then we have the Jolie Beauty Ethereality palette. I'd never tried Jolie Beauty before and I didn't realise they were a UK indie brand until a lovely person pointed it out to me in my comments and said, have you tried them? Because I do love trying indie brands, especially UK based ones, because that means the shipping is cheap for me. And I really like the look of this one. This wasn't the newest one that they released, but I thought if I'm going to try them, I want to try one that has a real nice colour story that appeals to me. And this one definitely does. I've done quite a few looks with this now. I think I did, was it 2 looks in a video? Then I used it for a 3rd time and I popped the picture on my Instagram. I think, okay, it does have pressed glitters. I personally really dislike pressed glitters, full stop. Usually they're not eye safe, they're very gritty. If you get them in your eye, you're going to be having a problem. You have to mess around with glitter glue, otherwise it's falling all over your face. I didn't test the glitters in my video of this palette, but I did test the glitter when I was doing the look for Instagram, and I used this one and it was falling all over the place. It looked gritty, it felt gritty. Yeah, I still don't like pressed glitters, and I did try it just because I wanted to give this palette the best shot for the review, and I needed to give it a go. But yeah, I could have totally taken out those 3 pressed glitters. They are useless to me in this palette. I know some people do like them, so if you are into pressed glitters, you might think they're beautiful. The white isn't the most pigmented white I've used, which makes me a little bit sad because I love a matte white in a corner. The other shades that are included, I absolutely love this colour story. This is why I picked this one with the blues, the greens, the purpley blurples and the pink. I like that we've got depth, we do have a black, and the 2 special shimmers that stand out for me in this are Fairy Dust and I think this is called Wenzdae. These are spectacular, and when I'm swatching them in the video, like, absolutely beautiful. They are the best shimmers in this palette, hands down. The other shimmers are a little bit more traditional shimmers. 1 or 2 look a little bit satiny. Some of the mattes do have sparkle in, which I'm not opposed to, although I have noticed after using it quite a few times now, the mattes are hard panning. This pink matte is, this one is, the black definitely is. Was that all of them? And I'm not used to that. I don't know if it's because I swatched the whole palette. My fingers were clean and dry. But please let me know if you've got any Jolie Beauty palettes or this palette. Are you noticing any hard pan in your mattes? Because that's super frustrating. Like, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. Can you see? Can you see the hard pan? I don't know. But yeah, that was a little bit of a shame. This definitely would have ranked higher if there wasn't a hard pan and if there weren't any pressed glitters in this, and if the matte white was a little bit more pigmented, this would have been ranking so high. Then next up, we've got another UK indie brand and I was so excited to try another one. This is the Earth palette. I think it's the only palette they've launched so far. They do have other things on their website such as liquid lipsticks and things. I like the packaging of this. It's really, really nice, and you open it up like this with the clasps. And on the inside, I really enjoyed this colour story. This just screams like earthy to me, which, you know, it's the Earth palette, that makes sense. I like the variety of tones. Did I do a 3-look video or a 2-look video with this? I can't remember now. But I actually really like the pigment, the blendability and the quality of this palette. I think it's super nice. This shade up here called Capricorn is a little bit more special than the others in the palette. They're more traditional, nice metallics, and this one is definitely a little bit more sparkly and a little bit more shimmery. It does have quite a few browns in it, but then it is the Earth palette. But I think it pairs really nicely with the greens and the bright pop of yellow here. I think it's just delicious. So all in all, I'm really happy that I've tried this brand, and I can't wait to see what other eyeshadow palettes they're going to be bringing out, because if this is their first one, I'm excited. Must remember to drink coffee. Do not let go cold. Then I did pick up the Odin's Eye Sea Talk palette, which was the collab between Odin's Eye and Lauren Mae Beauty, and this is the packaging, always stunning from Odin's Eye. The packaging is always goals. They are a beautiful Swedish indie brand, and I was so excited to see that they were collabing with some more influencers, so of course I was going to pick them up. They are limited edition. Not sure if actually you can still get hold of them. If you can, they'll be linked down below in the description box, hopefully. But yeah, this is one of the 3, and this colour story, although beautiful, it does have 4 neutral shades, which is a little bit why it's ranking where it is. I love the Electric Kelp shade. It is a bit of a satin, so you can kind of use it in your inner corner. You can sort of use it as a shimmer. I really like that tone of shade. It was a little bit more difficult to work with the pink and the blue because it's such a putty, flaky formula. That wasn't my favourite formula from Odin's Eye. But I do think the blues are beautiful in this, the blue shimmers. They picked up easily on a brush and applied really nicely, and we have depth in this one. I just could have personally missed out the browns, and those 2 shimmer shades were a little bit more difficult to work with. But all in all, it's a beautiful palette. Am I sad that I've got it? No. Then we've got the next Odin's Eye palette. This is the collab between Makeup Just for Fun and Odin's Eye. It's the Flora Story palette. Again, stunning artwork, absolutely beautiful. Again, limited edition, and this is the colour story. A little bit more muted, but I'm not mad at that because it's green muted and purple muted, and green and purple are 2 of my favourite colours in eyeshadow. So I was really happy to pick this one up. There's a nice iridescent-y shade in the corner that's a nice topper, or an inner corner shade. This shade here is like a teal with bluey purple sparkles in it. We do have 2 of the more difficult shades to pick up that are a little bit flaky, like I said in the previous palette. The mattes are beautiful and buildable. Not the most pigmented straight out of the gate with this one, but it is a more muted colour story. All in all, real nice. Then we've got Beauty Bay Retro Love. I love reviewing Beauty Bay eyeshadows. They are so affordable for the quality that you are getting. It blows my mind every time. This is one of the limited edition releases in the 20 pan. I think you can still get hold of this at the moment that I'm filming this. And this is the colour story inside. I have done multiple looks with this now on my channel. I think I did a first impressions and then maybe a 3-look video. My memory's great, isn't it? But when I first saw this, although I knew I was going to be picking it up, because like I say, I pick up all of the limited edition Beauty Bay palettes, I was thinking to myself, I don't really know what I'm going to do with this colour story. This doesn't really make that much sense to me, but actually doing the 4 different looks that I've done with it, I absolutely love it. It makes so much more sense to me. Actually now pairing things together and using it and combining it to create really nice looks. I was really impressed with all of the looks I was able to come up with this colour story. And the quality is the usual Beauty Bay quality, so a lot of you will already know if you love that or hate that. Some people don't like the shimmers because they are on the putty side. They're not the most difficult shimmers to pick up on a brush, but they're also not the easiest either. It's better applied with a finger if you can. Some people say that they break up in the crease depending on how hooded your eyes are and what primers you're using underneath. The matte white in here is a lot more pigmented than the previous white in the Ethereality palette. There's some beautiful tones in this, and the pigment of the mattes, delicious. Then we have the last Odin's Eye palette. This was the collab between Batty Bean and Odin's Eye. This is the Planet Spirit palette. Now this is the one out of the 3 that I thought I was going to like the least colour story wise. Just because, I mean, they are beautiful, beautiful tones, but there's no depth in here and there's no super light mattes either. They're all kind of mid-tone. So I was thinking, don't really know what I'm going to do with it. This is the one out of the 3 Odin's Eye that I've been reaching for the most. I just can't seem to put it down. I like pairing the orange with the pinky tones. I think it looks beautiful. I haven't actually used the green shades in this though. That is my little confession, which is crazy because green is the best. But yeah, I've just been reaching for this. If I know I want an orangey pinky look, this is the one that I've been picking up. We do have another iridescent shade in the corner, a little bit different to the previous one. The shimmers in this are so much better than the other two from the ones that I've used. However, having said that, Majestic I haven't used, and that actually looks like it's going to be one of those more difficult ones. But this one, and this one, spectacular. Mattes are very pigmented straight out of the gate. This is a super nice palette. Then we have the Colourpop Legend of Korra palette. There was no way I wasn't getting this. Even if I didn't like the colour story inside, I still would have bought this, because if you didn't know, I'm a sucker for a collab, and I love Legend of Korra. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I picked up that palette as well. So of course I was going to be getting this. I did get a few other bits in the collection that I can't actually recall right now, but please check out that video if you want to see any more of that collection. I really, really like this palette. I've been reaching for this quite a lot as well. There's only one look that I've still got planned in my mind that I haven't done with it yet, because I've done kind of an earthy look, a water look, and a fire look, but I haven't done an air look, which is more yellow leaning. You'll understand more if you know what I'm talking about because you've watched the series. But we have a Super Shock in here. Do we have two? We have a marbled shade. This one was a little bit difficult to work with because I couldn't really pick it up well. It's called Rebel Spirit, and it's beautiful, and I wanted it for my inner corner. So of course, if I'm using it for my inner corner, I want to pick it up on a brush so I can actually get it in the inner corner. But it's not the best to work with brushes. I suppose I could use a sponge tip applicator, but I really dislike doing that. I much prefer if I can use my finger or a brush, but I can't really get my finger just on the inner corner part that I want it to be. This blue has got a little bit of sparkle in it. I think the colour story represents Legend of Korra so well. I'm so pleased with this. I think it pairs really nicely with the first palette they did in the series, the Avatar: The Last Airbender palette. I think it's gorgeous, and I like the green tones that they've included in this because the greens in the other palette were a little bit different. So I like where they've gone with it. I think it's a beautiful palette. Like I said, I've nearly used every shade. I don't think I've used this yellow, but all in all, I think it is real good. Then we have another indie brand. This is Nomad Cosmetics. They're based in the US, and this palette is amazing. This is the Verona palette, the Love and Death, and this is based on a destination. All of Nomad's palettes are based on destinations that they've travelled to, and a percentage of their profits goes to a charity in that area or to do with that region. So I love that about Nomad. They have amazing customer service. They're one of my favourite indie brands, if you couldn't tell. And this packaging is spectacular. It's very Romeo and Juliet, and if you open it up, you have a love and death side, which I love the theming of that. You have two mirrors in here. I loved creating looks with this, and I love how many pinks and reds we have in this because I like to combine pink and red together. The dark side as well, just bringing in that little bit of depth over there. Absolutely stunning. A few people did have a problem with some of the shimmers on this side of the palette, I think, and Nomad said if you were having issues with the shimmers, it was a pressing issue and to contact them and they would send out a replacement. Amazing customer service and listening to customers. I love this palette, the theming of it, the colour story. I don't see a lot like this. This is a jewel in my collection. Okay, now we're into the top three, and let me tell you, this has never been so hard in a recent palette ranking to order the top three palettes, and I'm still not 100% sure if I've done it right. This is the hardest, hands down, by far, since I started my channel and I had to decide orders of palettes. I'm just gonna go for it. But just know that all three of these palettes are amazing. So we have got the Cosmic Brushes Muse palette. This sells out constantly, just like its sister, the Serenity palette did. Cosmic Brushes are another indie brand in the UK, and I'm trying to get it out of its sleeve and it doesn't have its sleeve on it. This is the delicious colour story inside. This white is a beautiful iridescent white with pink shimmer in it. It is beautiful as a topper shade or an inner corner. You've got a lot more grunge in this than the Serenity palette from before, and it's a little bit more muted, a little bit more different. It feels like the perfect sister palette to Serenity in my opinion. I love the green tones in this. Did I mention I love green eyeshadow? I like the purples, and I just think Cosmic Brushes know how to curate a really aesthetically pleasing colour story. And even with the packaging, all the palettes are the same size. you know, if you know, you know. The quality is just as good as the previous two palettes that they've brought out, and it just blows my mind how that a UK indie brand can not only smash it with packaging and colour stories and formulas, and how, for the prices that these retail for. I think they're around £18–20 depending on which palette, and I'm just like, I don't know how you're doing this magic, but keep doing it. Okay, and the top two palettes I did get in PR, but that is not why they are ranked at the top. Let me tell you now, if I hadn't been sent these in PR, I would have been buying them 1,000,000%. Also, if you can hear little bells in the background, that's not my reindeer, it's my cat that's just running up and down the stairs quite happily. So like I say, I was very kindly gifted this in PR, and it blew my mind when I saw the colour story and the theming of everything. This is the Arttitude Cosmetics Man-Eater palette. This is currently sold out while I'm filming, but I think there is a pre-order up. I do have a code with Arttitude, and it's not affiliated, it just saves you some pennies if you want to pick anything up. I did also pick up, hold on, the brush set. Real nice brush set if you wanted to check that one out. They've got lots of nice things on their website. I always use their liners. Their water activated liners are amazing. Let me get this palette open. So it is sort of tiger man-eater themed. You do have a big mirror, and it says unleash the beast within under the mirror. This colour story, I just, like, I've always liked Arttitude's formula and colour stories before, but this is the one that speaks to me the most. This is so me for a colour story. So when I saw this, I couldn't actually quite believe it. This to me is the best palette that Arttitude Cosmetics have come out with. By far, the best formula, the best everything, and if you wanted to try the brand, this is the palette I would be recommending to you. It is phenomenal. Again, for an amazing price, UK indie brand. I can't quite wrap my head around it. It is really good for the price. And like I said, if I hadn't been sent this in PR, I 1,000,000% would have bought this palette. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I would have done, because look at this colour story. We have greens in here. We have a black. This black might be the most pigmented black in my collection. If you're scared of pigmented blacks, be warned. The greens are beautiful. The tones that are included in the mattes, the shimmers, some are more traditional type of shimmers, some are spectacularly metallic, shimmery, delicious goodness. One swipe, buttery. This one is an amazing, I don't even know if it's a multi-chrome. I want to say duochrome, but I think it's a multi-chrome because it's stunning. I love every look that I've done with this palette, and I know this is a reliable palette. The shimmers don't break up in my crease. Hello, Zuko. You got the zoomies, mate? Don't mind me, I'm just filming. Yeah, you carry on. I just love the tones. I love how versatile this palette is. How many looks did I do with this? I can't remember now. Like I say, the video of that will be linked down below, and all the swatches and everything. This very nearly came out as #1. Either this palette and the one that is actually #1 could have been #1, because this is phenomenal quality. And then of course, the one that comes out on top is the Nomad Cosmetics Royal Europe palette. This is their most recent release. When I opened this, because I was very kindly sent it as a gift, I couldn't believe the packaging. Like, Nomad smashed the packaging normally anyway. You saw the previous palette, but this one is like 3D. And it feels very opulent and royal, the way that the packaging is. So I love the theming of that. Then I opened it and I was like, sorry, what? There's 5 multi-chromes in this. 5 multi. I have tried in the video that I did on this palette to show you the different shifts in the multi-chromes. It's so difficult to do on camera, like you're literally not going to be able to see anything from what I'm showing you right now, but these multi-chromes are stunning and shifty and beautiful and delicious. The mattes are so pigmented. They are some of the most Hello, Zuko. Sorry, I've just got a cat. Ooh. Who is Mummy's baby? Who is Mummy's baby? Did you want to look at the palettes, darling? Say hello to the nice peoples. Say hello. As I was saying, the mattes in this palette are probably some of the most pigmented mattes I've got in my collection. They are amazingly pigmented. There is quite a bit of fallout with them though, I will say that. So just be a bit careful when you're tapping your brush in. Go in with a light hand. The multi-chromes pick up beautifully on a brush. They pick up beautifully on your finger. They apply so nicely and they don't break up in my crease. I will say the lightest matte in this is this one, and that's still not as light as I personally would have liked, but because it's so jewel toned and opulent and decadent and sort of royal themed, I can see exactly the brief, and they have actually smashed it with this palette and colour story. Like, everybody that I know personally, like I'm in makeup groups and we chat about all this type of thing, everybody that I know absolutely loves this palette, and everybody that doesn't have it wants it, and you can see why. Like, even the way that everything's laid out for you in the different columns, and you can just stick to one column or you can mix it up. I think the way that it's all put together with the different indentations in the pan, the names, they actually travelled to these destinations to curate palettes like this. I just, this is definitely number one. But having said it, out of these two, it was so difficult. Let me tell you, it was so difficult. But with the multi-chromes in this, they are absolutely amazing. Are there any surprises for you in this ranking? Did you think things were going to be placed different ways round? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? It's fine if you disagree, but let's have a chat about it and discuss why. I do like to chat to people in the comments, so if you want to leave anything down below, then please feel free. I do have all of my socials linked in the description box, as well as my YouTube membership and my Patreon group, where we have a Telegram chat and just chat about general life, really, and a lot of makeup. There's a lot of makeup chat, I'm not going to lie. I've just realised my light's flickering behind me and I don't quite know how long that's been flickering for. I think I actually may need to replace the batteries in that. Thank you so much for checking out this video, guys, and thank you for the people that stay right until the very end. Please do let me know any suggestions for upcoming videos you would like to see in the future, and I will write them on my list and hopefully get around to them. Goodbye from me and Zuko, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.